All right, guys, good afternoon. I hope you guys have had a great session today. I'm very excited to introduce our esteemed guests, and I hope we have a good session lined up for you. So without further ado, I'll ask my first question to Mr. David Glennon from the Red Sea. So before we get started, do you just want to introduce Red Sea to us really quickly?
Yep. You've seen the video there, and if you were here about an hour ago, you've seen Scott Henshaw, our head of design, give a presentation or talk about the projects. But it's basically a hospitality project, part of Vision 2030. Two projects. We've got the Red Sea project and the Imala project, and they're sort of like super luxury hotels that are being built to welcome people to the kingdom, generating many jobs. I suppose the bit that I get excited about is the way we're being sort of pioneering in sustainable development in the hospitality space. So that's really what we're doing.
Excellent. So along with that, the rise of digitization has completely changed how people live. What have you seen in consumer expectations that's changed across the last 1 or 2 years, and how are you guys working towards that?
Okay, so if you look at the sort of big digitization plays that have happened over the last decade or so, they've all been based around the winners or the disruptors have been based around two main things. They've either been able to reduce cost, or they've been able to improve convenience. And I think two of the sort of more famous examples of that would be to Amazon. If you remember, all of a sudden you could go to one place and pick all these different items, and you didn't have to go to different stores, and within like a few days they'd all appear at your house, and you didn't have to hand any money over. That all got dealt with magically. And all of a sudden that then took off, but it was cheaper than the high street, but you had that convenience. Or another great example would be Uber. So if you remember, if you're in a strange city or a strange town and you just didn't know how to get around, it only works now if you're in cities, but all of a sudden in your hand you could find a way to get a car to take you somewhere. It just sort of removes that fear. And often they were a lot cheaper than what you could find. But I think there's been a real shift recently, and the focus is less on the cost element, although that's a way to grow your market in the digital space. It's very much now around convenience and experience, and you're starting to see that now in price points. So if you go back 10 years, the idea of being in a strange city and deciding that you want Mexican food or sushi that night, the idea that you could just press a button and within half an hour it would appear at your door, and you didn't have to hand any money over. It was all sort of like dealt with magically. Well, now that's reality, but it comes with a price premium, so you can be paying 50%, 100% more than if you were to walk to the shop to go and get it. So you can sort of see that there's been a real sort of like change towards convenience, and I think that's where it's sort of we're starting to see that now becoming the norm. People are expecting that convenience to be part of their life, and I think that's where the real opportunity is in hospitality, and certainly we're looking at that at Red Sea Global, and that's part of our smart destination strategy. So it's sort of equivalent to a smart city, but it's how can we connect all these different data points, how can we make better decisions, how can we learn from how people are interacting with our resorts to improve that customer experience, and if they have that good customer experience, they're likely to come back and give good reviews and all that great stuff. So I think to date, in most industries there's an app for something, so you can go get it. I think that the hospitality space is an area where it's still quite untapped. I think there's an opportunity to really define what that digital opportunity looks like in hospitality. So there we go.
Thank you. Vishal, I wanted to follow up with you, but before I do, can you tell me a little bit more about Jumeirah Group and your role there?
Sure, thank you. My name is Vishal Anand. I manage IT for the entire F&B and the asset management functions of our group. Primarily responsible for all the back office applications, intelligent automation, the portfolio and governance, and all the guest-facing applications. That's what I am.
So I think we heard some great ideas from David just now, including the app. Which part of the customer journey do you think is most likely to be impacted by digitization?
I think this is my belief, right? Digitalization has an impact in every facet of the customer journey, but I think it has a profound impact on the pre-purchase stage. Now, what I mean by that is, this is like, what I term it as an ACE stage, right? Awareness, considerations, and evaluation, right? So as part of the first stage of awareness, a lot of people use the web channels, social media channels to do the research around what the product is about, what are the services that are available. So it's important. Is the mic okay? Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's important. Yeah, it's important that we create using the social media a brand awareness and the brand visibility, right? And digitalization plays a big impact on that. The second stage would be the consideration stage, where every of the individual, I'm sure you and me also, before we buy a product, we do a lot of comparison. Where do we get a better deal, or what are the options, or what are the features? So it's important that you use technology as a medium to leverage and create the online channels. Or if you have a website, like we are proud of our Jumeirah.com, is one of the award-winning websites, and the kind of features they get, which you're able to compare, that makes a big impact. And the last but not the least is the evaluation phase, where once the guest completes their experience of the service or the product, at least in the hospitality sake, the ability to leave feedbacks, that plays a major role, because it enables the businesses to learn about what the customer needs are, and they can tailor and fight to it. So in summary, the pre-purchase stage is a crucial one, which plays a big impact from a digitalization perspective.
Excellent, excellent. So Vikalp, I think that there's great opportunity in digital, especially when we talk about hospitality. We have to understand the realities of it. Can you tell us a little bit about your role at Kerzner and what you guys do with cybersecurity there?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. If you're wondering why there was no voice on the video, because our brand is speak by itself. With all due respect to everyone. I'm Vikalp Shrivastava. I handle cybersecurity and technology for Kerzner Global. We have 4 brands right now. So we advertise our brands like, you might know, Atlantis, the Palm, Atlantis, the Royal, Royal Mirage, that kind of brands. Then we have One Zabil coming up. We also opened Bubble Sham recently. So those are a few brands. We are global. And we are growing. There's another new brands we are launching recently in One Zabil. A new hotel called Cyro is the world's first health-based hotel. So I handle all that compliance, security, all those challenges. So your question was the biggest.
What are the cybersecurity threats to digitization, and how can we mitigate this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So the more we are connected, more we are global, and people can access all information from everywhere. The customers we deal with is ultra-luxury space. The privacy is on the top priority. So the attacks which is coming, and people are targeting those individuals or those staff which got most access internally. I think the biggest, there's a lot of big risks around there, but some of the top ones like phishing. So people are targeting someone, sending very lucrative emails, you getting your bonus if you click on this link, whatever. And people want to know, right? They're so lucrative, they want to click on it. And once you click, game over, you open a door from inside. So that's kind of big risk. There's big space out there. There are a lot of companies trying to protect in there. But user education is the biggest challenge, I think. Everyone should think before clicking any link, any email, any websites. That's one. Second is we're connected with a lot of third parties. A lot of hospitality folks here, they might agree that our network cannot work in isolation. And we got to connect with third parties, with the vendors, with their services. So it's very important to review those areas and make sure that those are also compliant.
Excellent, excellent. And our last speaker, Rahul. Yep. I'd like to give you an opportunity to speak about Boutique Group and what you guys do before I ask you my question.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Boutique Group, I was going around and speaking to many, didn't understand what Boutique Group is all about. There's a difference between boutique hotels, other mass hotels, and Boutique Group in itself is different. So let me just bring that perspective to all of you. By definition, a Boutique Group is anything which has around 10 to a maximum of 100 rooms. Okay? And anything beyond that is called a mass hotel. Okay? So that's a classic definition. Now, what is Boutique Group? Now, Boutique Group is a fully owned subsidiary or a company of PIF, PIF is, again, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia. And we have been mandated to preserve the Saudi heritage in the form of preserving the old palaces and give to the world the Saudi experience, the Saudi cultural experience by converting them into ultra-luxury hotels, boutique hotels. So we are ultra-luxury hotels, boutique hotels, maximum around 70, 75 kind of rooms, some nearing 95 rooms. So as of now, we are working on 3 palaces as we speak, and many are on the pipelines. So that's about the boutique group in a nutshell, yeah.
Amazing. And when you're doing these conversions from heritage and palaces to ultra-luxury new, what is the role of technology? And how do you guys view technology in this conversion?
Yeah. I'm very sure many people will hate me for this. Digitization is not the only technology. I repeat, digitization is not the only technology. I'm sorry, people will hate me for this because there's a core technology on top of which digitization should be sitting. And my experience, I'm in the industry for pretty long. Don't go with my colored hair, I have gray hairs. So, so by my experience, the core technology is generally neglected across region. I'm speaking about the region. I'll give you, for example, now, since I'm from a development background, and we will be going into the operations hospitality background. Now, in the development background, now, again, coming from a boutique group, we have hotels which need to be preserved. I mean, the heritage which need to be preserved. So when I say preserving or conserving, there could be a tree, yeah, which has historical value. That needs to be preserved. What is the technology to be used for that? Right? You cannot always put, the IT stuff. Sorry, my background, I have a master's in IT strategy, so I'm not against IT, but, the core is required. So how do you preserve that? Now, you may have a piece of artifact, there could be a masterpiece which has some kind of a history. How do you preserve it? You need history behind that, right? Now, again, he touched upon when you want to do the purchasing. So what kind of technology are you using for the real design? Again, what kind of materials you use, what kind of, strategies you use for even development. So that is very important, core technologies. Now, when you come to guest experience, have you mapped the guest experience? And the worst part, I think most of you and most of us have faced it, is check-in a good experience for all of us? Check-in in the hotel? I think most of you would say it's no, right? I'll give my recent experience. I checked in the hotel early morning at around 1:30 a.m. I'm in the queue in front of the front desk. They make me sign a piece of paper. They ask me to write my email ID, my phone numbers. Okay, I'm there, 1:30 a.m., gentleman or a lady, whoever was there. Okay, I did that. I get the check-in key, right? I go to the lift. It doesn't work. I come back again, 1:30 a.m. So is that an experience for the guest? I don't think it is. So what technologies can we bring in that this can be entirely eliminated? Please don't say we'll do, check-in online or how can you? So we have to think about all this for the guest experience. So again, for the when you go into the real development, again, as I said, what are the partners bringing into you? What kind of technologies are they bringing into you? So I think I've taken a lot of time. So yeah.
Vikalp, with these seamless consumer experiences which require so much technology, what can we do to safeguard the network? How do we build networks that are resilient and allow for that frictionless journey?
Very good question again. I think it's all integrated, and the philosophy which works in the cybersecurity is the normal philosophy for any physical security or any security. So it's always the risk-based approach, right? We need to know that what is the biggest risk for us. And then you implement the controls against it, right? So you have, like, anyone you ask to in any industry, what is the biggest risk for your company? Is the brand image, right? It's always the brand image. No one wants to land on a news for a wrong reason. So you need to define that how you're going to be protecting it. There's multiple risks. There are different approaches. There's SANS comes with the approach. There's NIST approach. There's ISO 27001. Whatever fits you best, just go do a risk assessment. And I think it itself tells you that how much revenue loss you will have if you hit that issue. and how you can either mitigate it or transfer the risk, do an insurance liability, because there's two kind of companies in this world. They say one which is hacked, another they don't know they are hacked. So we need to understand that how we're going to be balancing this game. I think risk-based approach is my answer to that.
Excellent, excellent. And David, I want to come back to the customer journey part of the question. So I really enjoy when there's discussion around user experience and this whole thing that's human-centric and frictionless experiences. How do you incorporate digital touch points and use cases into the design phase of the hotels?
Perfect. So now, because I wanted to jump in after that, talking about the check-in experience, and you're right. You almost want to sort of like flip the question. It's not so much about digital touch points. It's more around making things seamless, so that there aren't any touch points, or if there is, you don't notice it. So sort of similarly to a check-in experience, for me, I used to travel a lot with work, and it used to, the airport was the thing. So I turned it into a game. It was how late can I get to the airport? Did I know where I wanted the taxi to drop me off so I was closest to where I check in? I started to know which queues were the quick ones. I started to know where I could sit so I could do a bit of work. I was happy when I got bussed to the terminal because I knew I'd be quicker out so I could get home quicker. Everything was about just trying to minimise the amount of time that I was going to spend in that building. And that, it all just sort of seemed so unnecessary. And then I used to, when I used to travel with my family, I used to get awfully stressed because my kids just wouldn't play the game with me. They'd want to go to the toilet, or they'd be falling over or losing a bag. So if there's many examples where the experience can just be frustrating. So and I remember when. It was when I first joined Red Sea and was part of working with the Smart Destination team as part of their strategy, and got to work on customer journeys. And the airport one, just really resonated with me. And it was the bit that I liked was how can we remove all of those touch points? Because when people turn up at the airport and they want to go, they've arrived and they want to go to start their holiday. What they don't want to do is then go meet immigration and then go wait and pick up their bag and then it's like utterly frustrating. So the idea is how can we make it so people walk off the plane and they don't feel like they're in an airport, they're in a garden. And then they don't have to do immigration because that's already been done. And they don't have to wait at the carousel and wait for their bag to turn up, hoping that it was going to turn up. That's already on its way to the resort. And you sort of make your way through this sort of art installation until you get into your autonomous vehicle, you get to your hotel, they already know you're coming, and you've already checked in. Absolutely. And so you can then choose to just walk to your room, and your bags are magically there, and straight away you can start to enjoy your holiday and start to experience some of the things that are outside your hotel and get to understand why the environment is so special and see all this amazing wildlife. So a lot of work has gone into trying to create those things, and some of those workshops were really exciting. So it's not about a digital touch point. It's about how can we remove that touch point and it's seamless. And one of the ways that we're building that into our designs at the moment, and I think you saw Scott, head of design earlier, we do something. We use some lean techniques, lean design techniques. I see one of my colleagues at the back there. He's had to go through this, but we have the big room. And when we start to get our information in from our consultants, we'll all get into a room together, and the very first thing Scott will ask us to do is to take us for a walk. So we'll go for a virtual walk through the resort. What's the arrival like? How do we get to reception? How do we get to our room? And then you can start to ask the questions about those touch points, and then how can digital have we made sure that digital starts to remove some of those frustrations? So it's all sort of like weaved into the work that we do, but it's all around customer experience.
So I'll work that back to Vishal. So obviously in the design and on paper and virtual walkthroughs, it's very easy. But when we get into operations, how is technology changing the way we operate existing hotels and consumer expectations for future hotels that are coming online?
Yeah, I think Rahul will hit me now if I talk about digitalization. But I agree with him. I think digitalization or digital transformation are one of the most abused words nowadays, right? So our philosophy and our company's philosophy is not going digital, it's about being digital, right? So in everything what we do, we try to do those things in digital manner to enhance the experience of the customers and even the back office system. So let me start off with one of the areas. So if we talk about online channels, right? So our website, we have invested significantly in our website to ensure that the guest can get all that they want. And some of the features which we have invested are some of the first in the world. Like you can select an adjourning room and so on and so forth. Second thing, Rahul was talking about online check-in at 1 a.m. We are the first in the region, and we worked with DTCM to enhance or implement the online check-in process, where guests 36 hours before they can check in online using their mobile phone, take a selfie, and their identities are validated, and we are checked online, right? So these are the simple nuances which will enhance the guest experience. Now, that's from an online perspective. Now, the second focus area, if we talk about, is around the mobile technologies. Mobile is growing significantly. We have enhanced, or we are being digital by ensuring that we provide keyless check-in. We don't have to come back. You use mobile as a key. And you use mobile for ordering your food. We have something called as e-butler and e-concierge, where the guest can interact with the staff of the back of the office and also get all the services over the phone, right? So mobile is one of the areas where we have invested significantly in elevating the guest experiences. The third one is around, I would call it as hyper-personalization. We have, with the consent of the guests, we have built, over the years, we have built something, a wonderful data lake, or we call it as a customer genome, where we get to have the key attributes, the preferences of the customers, so that we can run targeted campaigns to the customers based on that data. It could be for campaigns, or it could be for providing the services, right? So that's about hyper-personalization. Third thing is using the same data. We have used the technology such as artificial intelligence to actually upsell, right? We know the guest preferences. We can do, what can we do to cross-sell or upsell and identify, give them a recommendation of the restaurants they can go to based on the based on the preferences they have had in the previous days. And the third and the most important one would be around the sustainability aspect. And today, and this is a year of sustainability as well. So we are enhancing the technologies using the mobile phones to control the lights, the lighting systems within the hotel rooms. We have implemented new versions of the GRMS, which will ensure that the guests can have the control of all these things. So at every facet of a customer journey, I think digital plays an important role, and I think we are proud to be part of that journey.
So Vikalp, when we're getting so much consumer data, does the end user have to worry about their data security and what's being collected? Is that something that's a concern in the market right now?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I'll circle back on what Rahul said, that digitization is not the technology, right? It's one of the technology, and you make it automation. So the processes underneath is the key, where you then build the technology on top of it to automate it. Like Vishal said, I think any ultra-luxury brand, especially in Dubai, is so much digitization around. You can't run a hotel like Burj Al Arab or Atlantis. It's so big hotels that you have to have digitization done. We use the similar kind of technologies, like Vishal saying, mobile check-in, etc. And the biggest challenge is that how you protect it. There's so many data points. There's so much of connections, right? So what we do is we also use the technology to safeguard technology, right? So we have AI-based detection technologies where we check that which of the staff need what kind of access, where they're logging from, what kind of access they have. And you all know the SaaS platforms these days. You can access from anywhere else. We are using a technology called CASB to protect anyone who is logging in should be our user or our authorized people. So there are a lot of technologies around there. I generally call that you need a cloud to protect a cloud. So you have a cloud which is actually detecting, protecting, creating profiles for the cloud which has the data behind the scene. So we do a lot of those kind of cloud-based technologies. We have cloud proxies protecting, accessing, internet access, etc. And we need to know that which kind of user is more higher priorities than others, and like everyone in security or technology say that you need to know your data. You need to know your key data where it sits. So you need to profile the data in a way that there's a public data, which you don't need to pay like millions of dollars to protect it because it's public anyway, versus there's a data which is privacy information or likings or preferences of the guests. Those are the areas which you need to protect. So you need to focus your energy around that areas, and it works in both sides. So I handle technology as well along with security, which becomes tougher because one side you need to do flexibility, another side you need to protect it. So it becomes really interesting combinations that you need to protect a data, but at the same time need to be available, right? So you don't want to hit a ransomware and encrypt everything and you can't access anything, versus you protect so much that no one can access it anyway. So you need to have that balancing done, but profiling, classification, and based on your risk register, you deploy your protection. I think that's how we do it.
Cool. So Rahul, I think I know your answer to this question, but I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Technology for technology, cloud for cloud. How do you preserve the heritage and the culture and the human experience while still trying to give the best technology and digital experience?
Yep. It's an interesting question now. Again, we need digitization. I never said that we don't need digitization. We need it. Now, I was just going through one of the research papers. It said 83% of the people surveyed, they said they want customization in the hotel experience when they want it. So when it's customizations, then it's again, now we have started, the human generation started from high-loader graphics. Now we are going back to emojis. So there's a cycle which has gone, right? So again, there was another research paper which said, when you go to the guest with big iPads on them, then they're intrigued by that. Especially I'm talking about the older, elderly people. So what kind of technology? Is it wearable devices which just senses your voice and sends it to other one? So that is one way which it can be used. The other one is, everyone in the property is a brand ambassador for that property. Right from housekeeping, be it the security, be it the bellman. So if there is something which has been asked to them, they shouldn't say, I'm not the person who is supposed to do that. So what is the technology which can transfer this information directly to the relevant people and get it back immediately, so it can be given as an experience to the guest? So these are two things which I feel digitization can help, besides everything else which we spoke about. Yeah, the data security, very, very important. Especially when you are talking about the boutique guests, the data is very, very important. Even you may have to have layers and layers of even accessing their data. So how do you keep it, right? So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So David, I guess working on a Giga project and doing everything that you guys are doing, how are you catering for the rapidly evolving nature of technology? We just heard a little bit about customizability, but the consumer needs change in this market so often. How do you cater for that?
Yeah. Okay, so I think you're right. It's the consumer needs that are changing. The technology technology's changing all the time, but that's not, in my opinion. I'm not a technologist, but I don't think that's where the issue is. You can normally buy your way out of that, and the way it's sort of being delivered is got this big sort of integration layer, and then you can plug and play all the different tools and apps and widgets and whatever it is that you need to do to use it. As you can tell, I'm not a technologist, but so the technology bit sort of relatively comfortable with, and then bandwidth is cheap now and storage is cheap, so I think that's going to be okay. But you're right, it's how the consumer need is changing, and if you were to come to our destination, the expectation is that you wouldn't go to one hotel and sit there by the pool for 2 weeks. It's different to that. The types of travellers that are likely to come they want to see the wildlife, they want to see some of the amazing landscapes, they want to enjoy the local culture, they want to see some of the heritage sites. So it's a very different sort of holiday to what a lot of people would sort of like typically see as their vacation. And then as well as that, as you say, you've got the personas, you've got different types of people and they're after different things, and that's, I think we talked about it before, you've got the Instagram people that want that shot that they can show their friends about what a great experience that they're having. I enjoyed the privacy conversation there, and that's, I do sort of relate to that. So we can make everything super digital, but there's people that don't like to the pay to play. I don't like it. I have to give up so much of my information in order to access the services that I want to go and use to enjoy. And I'd rather just pay for that as well. I don't want to give you all this my information. I just want to go do that. You have to cater for that, because otherwise some people aren't going to get the experience that you need. And then to get even less technical or digital, like someone like my parents, they're not at all interested in the technology and all the apps and all the rest of it, but they would like to have a good experience. And that's being built into the resorts. There's got to be a way where you can experience everything and not have to do it in a digital way. And again, if you look at my parents, they want to meet somebody at the desk. They want to build that relationship with someone. They want to meet somebody who knows how they like their cup of tea made in the mornings. All that kind of stuff is sort of really important to them. Thus, they get value from that. And then, take it back to me personally again, I'm probably even less tech than them. So I know my next holiday, I've deliberately chosen a place where there's no internet, because I do not want to pick up a phone. I don't want to look at a laptop. I'm there with my family. Everyone that I care about is going to be there. I need nothing else. So, and I think we're going to see more, and this is just my opinion, but I think we're going to see more people like that where they want nothing to do with it. They actually want to break. They want to switch off. They want to enjoy time with their family or in the environment or doing where it is that they've gone to. So I think the bigger challenge is going to be, how do we provide all those great experiences that have been enabled through digital, that will allow the people that really want that seamless experience to get it, but at the same time allow those that don't want to play to still have that same experience. That's to me, that's the key challenge.
Excellent, excellent. So Vishal, back to you. How have you seen consumer demands change and their requests for more or less technology, both on the consumer side, but also in the back-end office side? So with your people that are operating the office, how are you seeing the change in technology?
I think we are in the phase of transition, right? So if you take, as Vikas was talking about, Burj Al Arab or Atlantis, these have been built over years, and now we are in the phase of transitioning to a refurbishment of those things. But as we evolve, people realize and understand. I agree with David's viewpoint that some people want to be cut off because they don't want technology to interfere in the holidays. But there's a large majority of the guests who actually want to have this enhanced experiences, elevated experiences. So technology plays a role. So take the case of take the in-room technology, right? The having a smart in-room technology is one of the key things where we are able to control the lighting, the ACs, on touch of a finger, of course, and all the rooms that is being constructed now. When we build a new hotel, we are building a Marsa Hotel, Marsa Al Arab, one of the iconic ones which is yet to open yet. But all the technologies which we are considering is to see how can we make it a smarter room, right? That's the first facet. Second facet is around the Internet of Things. We are trying to see how we can install sensors, how these sensors can enhance the experience of the guest from perspective of ordering the food, but at the same time from controlling when they enter, control the room, the AC or as well as the lights. Also give messages to the back of the house about the guest being there so that they can know when to do the service, etc. So that's the second facet of it. The third part is around AI. What I mean by AI is AI can be used for both from the front of the house to elevate the experience of the guests, where we can provide them service as per the tailored to them. But for the back of the house, we can also use the AI as a technology to actually upsell and cross-sell products for us, and also run those campaigns. And the third part would be around the use of cloud, and I think Vikas mentioned that. Cloud for cloud, we are proud to say that we have moved all of our critical systems on the cloud. That gives us the ability to scale quicker and faster, and don't have to be worried about maintaining our own data centers. So in summary, I think as we transition into a new age, and I think technology will play a significant role.
So Vikalp, how can we have seamless interactions between that front end and back end, what the consumer is doing and experiencing, and the back end, what the service staff is doing? How can we make that whole experience seamless?
So one of the things I want to add, what Vikas is saying is like technology should be like fresh air, right? It's right now, it's when you go in a resort like One and Only in Rithira, right? It's the middle of Maldives and has beautiful air, and you don't want to just have the iPad scrolling for ordering a wine or something. But at the same time, when you pick a phone and you want to touch your social networking, if you want to, it should be excellent Wi-Fi. Technology should work the way you want. So to me, it should be very seamless. It should be there when you need it. So give you example, and if you go to the Royal Atlantis, we just opened, you have this wonderful experience when you walk in. It can adjust the temperature according to your likings. The curtains goes out, and the lighting set up and all that. But at the same time, you can have your private butler. So if there's a human touch, and you want to really interact with the human, they should be there. It's not a replacing. Technology should not be replacing that piece. Because in ultra luxury, you need to understand human, and human can understand human best. So there are a lot of touch points. We still use the humans to interact and give the services. But at the same time, you need to have the technology to enable that experience more smooth. So when we give you example, when the guest is walking to the front desk, we already know that who this person is, what their likings are, what kind of wine they like, what kind of experience they want. All that thing is there on the screen. So when they greet with to the guest with their name, it's a different feeling. So that kind of technology should be that smooth. And I think the integrations and the networking and Wi-Fi and all the technologies behind the scene, all the vendors, everyone should work seamlessly to each other. And I think that's the win-win for the human and the technology piece.
Excellent. Cognizant of time, I want each of you guys to just do 1 or 2 minutes and just give your key takeaway on what you think technology and how technology is going to impact hospitality. So David, if you want to go first.
Okay, so that's a good question. So I suppose the takeaway for how technology will impact hospitality. So look, the bit that we're talking about there about actually using the technology to interact with the consumer, the end user, as I was talking about in the examples before. In my mind, that's still uncharted. It's not really been defined yet. And there's 2 sides to that. One is how do we really then influence behaviours in that customer that turns up? How do we nudge them to go and enjoy that experience? But then ultimately, how's that monetized as well? How do companies make increased margins, increased profits from it? It's a complicated balance, but I don't know. You can see that there's organisations out there that are starting to move into this space. I think once it does start to go, it really is going to start to go very quickly. As we mentioned before, you've got all the Instagram kids and the way things are being sort of communicated much more quickly now. I think that's probably you can see it's going to accelerate quite quickly in that space.
Excellent. Rahul, key takeaway?
Yeah. Again, I'll go back to customization is necessary. Customization, again, as he said, it's a balance between the technology and the human touch, and based on the experiences or the requirements of the guests which we have. And just a final say, please focus on the core technology also. Yeah, that is very important, because you need to focus on the frog first and the frills later on. You may be having a lot of frills. If you don't have a frog, then it's not very good for anybody. So that's my takeaway.
Vishal?
For me, just 3 things: elevated guest experiences, hyper-personalization, improved efficiencies. That's it.
Excellent. And Vikalp?
I'll give you a very easy analogy. So my takeaway for you is the brand is the crown, and data is the jewels on the crown.
Yeah.
Don't let your jewels stolen, because without those jewels, crown doesn't make much sense. So I think it's a balance between both, how the flexibility and service quality and all those, which is, of course, the core for hospitality. But securing the data for your prestigious customers, that's also our responsibility, being hospitality.
Excellent. So that's all from my side.